Hello and welcome to Bits and Atoms, the Grisham Robotics Founder Series. I'm your host, Elias Can, and today I've got Masih Nikoukarzadeh, co-founder and CEO of Tales Tensor, joining me. To get started, Masih, would you mind sharing a quick intro about you and Tales Tensor?
I'm first of all happy to have me here. I'm Masih, as I said, the co-founder CEO of Tales Tensor, and Tales Tensor, as is going to be shockingly, the world's first time travel platform. That's it. I think that's enough intro of me and Tales Tensor.
Very cool. And
later we can dig in.
Yeah, exactly. We'll dig in a bit more. Especially when you hear time travel, it certainly piques interest. So, but before we get into more about Tales Tensor and what you're doing there, maybe to take a step back and look at you personally first. You know, what kind of originally motivated you to become a founder? What's the origin story for you?
I was previously thinking about this origin story, but I think we can base the origin story of most of the people that's coming from the decision that we make through our life, and most of the decisions come from the personality that we build, and the personality, I think, is coming from the childhood. And the childhood is most relevant thing in our childhood is the family. So because of that, I think most of the personality is built in that way. But if I wanted to just give you a origin story, is I always was curious about the questions that's rambling in my mind. And I was a curious guy, especially in physics and mathematics. I hate being a businessman previously when I was in high school. And I was a very academic person, studying physics and this sort of thing. And in high school I started to study physics of university courses. So when I was 15, 16. So when I entered to the high school, I had nothing to learn, and I jumped into the philosophy. Because if you wanted to go through whys in the nature and science, you will actually facing the philosophy question. I go through the philosophy and ask why in the fundamentals of things that we have in philosophy. I lead it to another field, which is the history of philosophy, linguistics as the words we use, and actually the aesthetics, the philosophy of art and this sort of thing. And through whys in that, the question following in the aesthetics and linguistics, I faced peoples. And after the peoples, I realized the model that handles the people in our society is named economy. And based on after that, get in love with economy because of two reasons. One is modeling, and the other thing is mathematics. And I get in love with economy, the business, and I faced toward the world of business, founded 4 companies alongside the way. One of them was failed. One of them was when I was 19, I sold the IP, and the 2 other ones in the travel industry that they exited. But about the mindset, if I wanted to say why I think going founding a company, I believe that we all die one day in a way that no one remembers us in 10 years after that. And I faced it when my grandma died. That was my first impression. And I realized 5 or 10 years later, no one remembers us. So if we live and die in a way that we never been here in a world or lived here, we have 2 choices. One is enjoying the life, going traveling the world, enjoying the fresh air and this sort of thing, which I don't like it. And the other thing is, I believe, disrupting the world, changing the game, doing something that maybe it's changing the way that humans live or humans talk or any models that is inside the world. So I think these 2 or 3 ways of this origin story.
Very interesting. It's kind of a go big or go home mindset. Very existential thread that we've kind of pulled on here to say
Yeah.
you either, yeah, maybe a bit of either enjoy or push, and there's kind of being in between kind of doesn't really net you somewhere. You probably maybe want to be on each extreme of each side to really enjoy life.
Yeah, exactly. In being in between is such a wrong decision any people can make, because if you wanted to do something, as I said, push something forward, you should enjoy the pain in a way. You should enjoy the challenge, the things that coming in your way, because you should be in love with problem solving. Or if you enjoy the life, so you shouldn't bother anything in your life and just enjoy it.
Yeah. It's an interesting way to think about it, and now I understand the philosophy background as well. I'm sure
Yeah.
you've had to contemplate this before. Moving forward to hear a little bit about the enjoyment of the pain for you to build Tales Tensor. What is Tales Tensor? What is the vision there? You mentioned time travel earlier. What does that look like in terms of product?
Okay. In terms of time travel, if you go through the first principle, first question, that why people wanted to travel into the time through the histories and centuries, we have the three intentions, or we are seeking three different experiences by time travel. One is seeing different location in different timeline. The other thing is interacting with that timeline, like talking with Isaac Newton, Da Vinci, or any people you want from the past or the future. And at the third experience is doing some action in that world and changing the course of history, changing the timeline, see the consequence. So if we can manage to build actually these three experiences for the people in the next 5 to 10 years, we are actually building the world first time travel platform that you can travel into the time, have all of these experience in the best way. And actually the engine for building at the back stage of the whole thing that I'm talking is AI. If we didn't have the AI, it wasn't possible to build some sort of these things, because AI is make it enable to build infinite amount of creative material or documents to feed to the world, to feed to the customers or anything. But yeah, the engine is AI, but the whole mechanics is coming from the fundamental thinking of what is time travel. For the first phase, we are not going to be insanely building whole platform as we discussed. We are started with gamify the experience of traveling into the city in a way that you're walking around the city as a traveler or weekend planner, picking up your phone right now, later in your AR glasses, but right now picking up your phone, seeing portals open for the AR implemented. Portals open in the cities, see streets and location 200 years ago rebuilt or 400 years ago. Talk with historical figures as they generated by AI, so you can actually talking with the Da Vinci or Isaac Newton. And the third one, which is the beauty of whole of this ecosystem, is earning real world rewards. So as you're exploring the world, interacting with the game, which is actually the simulation of the world through the history, you're earning real-world rewards or in-game currency that you can spend it through partners in the city. So you engage within a story of exile of King Charles, for example, in Edinburgh. Talking with King Charles, going seeing the time portals in a city, the location rebuilt, and actually you're earning like a GTA style. You're earning from the street or interaction some in-game currency, and you can buy cafe, beer, restaurant, book your flight, or anything with it. It's kind of connecting the loyalty programs, the coupons that we today use together, so you can spend your Starbucks loyalty cards or coupons to book a flight, to book a table at the restaurant or anything. This is the ecosystem that we are going to build. So the thing in backstage of Tales Tensor, one is actually time traveling, and the other thing is the ecosystem that we are going to build.
And linking them together so it creates a full loop of, you know, entertainment to reward to some in real life tie-in or benefit again, and then restarts the loop again when you visit somewhere new.
Exactly. It is kind of a circular economy that is possible to build between the customers and the local shops together in a way that you explore the physical world, play the digital world as we connect it to the physical is kind of a simulation of reality, and earning rewards as you're doing this sort of stuff. And I think it will be the future for humanity, because I believe in the next 5 to 10 years, people can travel and have earning through Tales Tensor. It will be a job for people to traveling and have earnings and some incomes and this sort of thing. It is more lean toward the urgency and the need for meaning and agency for the people in the age of AI. So think about the 2035, that most of the things handled by AI. So in that way, we mostly seeking agency, meaning, exploration, adventure, which is coming from the nature of human being.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. And yeah, I know it's a bigger question and kind of topic, and hard to grasp in a way as well. But if AI really does, you know, go past augmenting and just flat out replacing a lot of the work that humans do, like where do you find meaning in life without work? And maybe to your point, it is more of that like exploration, connection with the past, better understanding, you know, our existence and our history is going to kind of replace maybe what we view now, which is more of the, you know, in the moment day-to-day work that is kind of giving us some kind of fulfillment. But maybe it is more of a deeper connection or journey that we take once, you know, we're less in a working capacity and more in an exploratory capacity.
Exactly, but as you mentioned, beside the thing that Tales is going to be built is with the data that we gathered through the first phases, which is the 3 to 5 first year, we can manage to build a digital twin actually of reality, which is based on history. So you can play the reality going to the future or make it backward to the past, see what's happened, and actually change the timeline and branch the timeline and build new worlds. Think about it, that you build a new timeline with your name on it, with your group name on it, based on the quest that you build. And these, yeah, let's just stop here.
Yeah. And do you, I guess initially, in terms of where people will be able to experience it, like do you initially map to thinking like it's going to be a few key major cities as maybe, you know, the very early kind of testing ground for the experience, like thinking of it from the consumer side of things? You know, is it a few major cities that you have in mind for like an early rollout or deployment, something like that, in terms of how do you get this in front of people and in what way initially?
The first phase would be launching city by city, and the first city would be Edinburgh, as we believe. And after the launch of Edinburgh and actually working on the app with the iteration with the customers in Edinburgh, we reach somehow a first shape of what we need to have as a first product. And then we go city by city in the UK, and after that in Europe. We start with Edinburgh, then Manchester, Bristol, Glasgow, London, and beyond.
Okay, and starting there, and then branching out beyond the UK after
Yes.
that. I mean, Europe obviously has a much deeper and I guess maybe well documented might be the better term, history than Western civilization as well, because there's just less that, especially obviously for the US only being around 250 years now. Obviously Europe has thousands of years to go off of. And I want to touch on what you said earlier in terms of, you can go back in time and kind of create a new thread. Would this be like a shared experience with other users? Is it something that you individually affect, and then it kind of, you see how the simulation move forward of what kind of like alternative present might happen based on some kind of action that you did? Curious on that side, like what you're thinking.
It is going to be some surprise that what is going to be branched the timeline and this sort of. But just to give in a clue is it's really is going to be science fiction as I'm talking about. The actual way of building a time travel experience or building a time travel machine is not a linear way to go and build a time travel machine. As I'm saying, it's a science fiction. There is enormous amount, a lot amount of events and the things that happen through the history that we don't know why they happen, what is the origin of this event, why, for example, the king of blah, blah, blah in England vanished in one day and no one knows what's happened. Like these stories, there is millions of these stories in Europe and later in anywhere in the world. We can narrate these stories and connect them together to actually, maybe we can figure out in the future as we build this twin digital of the world, we can figure out what actually was the origin of these events that we don't know why they happen. Some people says the UFOs, some people says the aliens, some people says the time travelers, some people says anything. So this is a narrative that you connect to that event that we don't know why they happen. So we have millions of these unknown events and narratives that we can narrate them.
Yeah, it's almost endless, the possibilities, as well as you start to affect something and narrate what's happening from that change. And it reminds me, maybe you're familiar with it, but the Loki series on Disney with the time variance police, and you've got the main timeline, but then it's creating all these sort of branches as they travel the different branches and start making more, and yeah, it becomes infinitely branched from there. And sounds like similar kind of thread in general to what you're thinking of here.
Yeah, we can control the branching, because if I, for example, if I pick my phone here or not pick my phone, there is two branches of timeline. So if you wanted to think it in that way, it would be enormous, infinite amount of branching. But we are mostly focusing on the meaningful branch. For example, simulating the World War II didn't happen even, or simulating the world that the United States or America found 500 years ago, for example, instead of 250.
Yeah, or like, yeah, Franz Ferdinand, wasn't murdered and didn't start the catalyst for the Great War, which ended up being World War I. Things like that, where it's like big moments in time that are maybe a tipping point to some kind of crisis or event.
Exactly, because we are thinking about the current computation power that we have to put in backstage of this world building stuff, as we call it, the twin digital world building. But the current limitation is the chips that we are building, which we're going to be shrink it down, send them to space, make the bigger computation, the terawatt computation, the hexawatt computation. But we actually, I don't think it's going to be that way, that we build more chips, build it, and send it to the space, and it's going to be for the next 50 years. Somewhere along the way, we are going to reach to a peak point, I believe, as we found a new architecture or new technology for the computational power. I know right now there is some startup, especially in Switzerland, that's working toward a new form of computation, which they call it biocomputing. And the biocomputing is come from the nature of mind, that your mind is going to process 200 trillion parameters at the same time with the electricity power of 20 to 40 watts. But if you wanted to run that same amount of information and compute those same amount of information or data with the data centers, you should spend megawatts of power. So at some point, the architecture and the type of computing going to be changed, and we go on and we have a spare amount of energy to use for the same amount of computation that we previously had. So, and after that point, I call it the computation singularity. After that point, we will have a double amount of computation in a board each month or each 6 months. So we reach in a way that we can actually simulate our whole board in a twin digital board. That twin digital board is totally not you cannot distinguish it from the reality. And I think we are building the building blocks of that for those platforms in the future.
Yeah. And hey, if it can be built, maybe we're living in the digital twin world right now anyway. Exactly. And so so it's already here, we're already in it. And yeah, existentially, are we in the simulation or not already? Because if it can be built, it means we're probably in it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Think about it, that in the future, people are going to build biocomputers with the mind, the brain cells. So right now we have lots of these computers in our mind as the brain cells, and we have some internet connection together, as the science proved that we have some electromagnetic pulse through the minds to the other minds and people. So maybe it is possible that we all using these computers right now, and we are simulating everything right now.
Yeah. Oh, good food for thought and good question of everything we know about anything. I want to thank you, Masih, because we're at time and want to wrap up and give you your time back to get back to building. It sounds like you've got a lot on your plate, and so I don't want to keep you too much longer. Really appreciate you spending the time with us today and joining for Bits and Atoms.
Thank you for having me, and that was really exciting talking with you.